So, what's the deal when you look at the scoreboard and a box score and think it's total domination, but feel meh? The good, the bad, and the ugly of a Rutgers 60-10 win over Norfolk State and Michael Vick. Let's get to it.
Did a good job of finishing that catch with getting the behind the end zone to race 1 for 1. Thomas got it. Touchdown. Throw up there. He is gonna throw to the end zone. A bunch of.
Okay, so Michael Vick back in town at Piscataway in his first game as a coach against an FBS opponent. And Rutgers, on paper, dominated Norfolk State on the scoreboard, 60-10, matching it. 2015? A 63-13 50-point win. And in the box score, we rang up 563 yards. I like to see that because the elite teams, the very good teams, are able to dominate the opponents they're supposed to dominate. And we'll get to more of that in a second. And that was one of my goals. Just don't get 400 yards and go into a shell and walk away with the win. Athan, great game. He led the charge, 18 of 26 passing. Missed a couple guys. 309 yards and a touchdown. We'll get to more on Athan in a second. AJ Sarace added a couple touchdowns and 58 yards through the air, and we rushed for 185 yards. We kicked off the scoring with not one, but two blocked punts, or a muffed punt and a scoop and score for a touchdown and a blocked punt for a touchdown. Shiano ball, I love it. You know, on the ground, Antoine, 16 carries, 79 yards, 5 yards a pop. Wasn't the case early. Later on in the game, we built up some momentum. Jay Sean had a touchdown, 68 yards, 12 carries. It's under 6 yards per carry. Norfolk State went, and Richie from the Night Report said this, when I went back and looked at the stats, they really weren't that good. Maybe we weren't as bad as we thought, but I think we kind of were at certain points. Norfolk only had 220 yards. 12 first downs. We had 33. I think that ties the most ever by us in the Shiano era. But Norfolk and Michael Vick kind of surprised me because they announced Otto Kuhn, the pocket passer, or Kuhn, would start over Israel Carter, the more mobile, athletic quarterback. But I guess I could kind of see that after watching the performance. Neither one of those guys did great. Kuhn's threw for 90 yards, 8 of 20 passing. Not great. Carter was 1 for 2, 1 pass for 2 yards on 3 attempts. And the Spartans of Norfolk State's lone touchdown was on a 25-yard by running back Kayvon King, who actually had a pretty decent night, as did the running game for Norfolk. So why the angst? Not just by me, but by others as well. As stated in my preview, I wanted to see 500-plus yards. We got that. Win by 40-plus points. We got that. But with the ability to hit 60, even 70 points. When you look at our peers, the good teams, the elite teams, seems like Oregon, Washington, Ohio State, Indiana, Illinois, they all put up 70 points on their FBS opponents. Why can't we do that? I think that's a barometer that shows you that you have killer instinct and you're productive against who you're supposed to be productive against, and you're not just going through the motions to come away with a win. You have the skill, the scheme, and the athleticism, execution, and playmaking ability to run people out of the building. Which generally means you could hang with the best teams in your league. And, you can see that with Oregon, Illinois, Indiana. But also wanted to see, and many of us wanted to see, the defense make improvements. Come together, start to gel, build chemistry. I sometimes think that's not a thing. You just have to execute. And start to look like a Big Ten team instead of a Big 12 team when it comes to defense. I feel we wanted to clean up defensive lapses, particularly in the secondary. We know that the safeties have had some challenges. Jed Elad, Kosh Sanders, although they made some plays yesterday. Contain, not great. Not get gashed in the running game or big plays, especially with scrambling quarterbacks off schedule. In addition to keeping offensive momentum, keep building towards something. Deeper rotations throughout the game, spreading the ball around, getting it to more guys. A lot of people wanted to see us get to a big first half lead, like 35-0. And then getting AJ and the backups and some of the young guys in there. Let's see what they can do. More Archie, DJ McClary, although I don't think they got in. Eventually came later, late in the third quarter and into the early fourth quarter, when we started to build momentum. We wanted to see pressure, sacks, get the quarterback to the ground, be disruptive, make plays, get in their face, knock them around. We got 2 sacks again against the FCS team. The first one was Eric O'Neill and Bradley Weaver. The second one was Jordan Thompson. I think that came later. Not exactly a dominant performance by the front four. Nonetheless, at game time, game starts. Ben Black is in for Ian Strong. When I first saw that, I thought, okay, they're resting Ian for Iowa. We don't want to get him dinged up. But apparently he was dinged up and he was day-to-day. Didn't really know about that because injuries are a state secret at Rutgers. Ben Black, made some plays. No worries. KJ had himself a career day, and he was a mini-me of Ian Strong. More on that later. And Tyler Needham came in for Dante Chin, and we'll get to some of that in a second. So we get off to a good start in how we wanted to see it. We didn't want to see any big plays out of the gate by an FCS team. As I said, surprisingly clean starts. That was -1 yard, incomplete, 3 and out. And they muffed the punt. Dylan Braithwaite scoops and scores. But we missed the extra point. The first of 2 missed extra points. And I'm sure Cochiano in private had some things to say about that. But when I talked about Norfolk in my preview, I said, look, special teams, they're schizophrenic. They make plays and they give up plays. I watched some film on them, decent return game. They, blocked some kicks. They blocked 2 of our kicks, but also had 2 of theirs blocked. So they're very inconsistent as a team, which kind of explains the start of their season. Norfolk gets the ball back after muffed punt and a touchdown. And now this is pissing me off. The pocket quarterback is successful. He has 20 yards. He has runs of 5 yards. This is not the athletic mobile quarterback who's playing schoolyard ball. Nonetheless, Norfolk has to on this drive punt, and I was kind of happy that they weren't able to finish the drive and give themselves momentum and some false hope. I hate seeing the pocket passers have success on the ground. That was frustrating to me. Well, I don't know. He had like, without the sacks, at one point he was like 4 for 34 rushes, 30 yards, and then you take away the sack yardage. Nonetheless, on our first offensive series, Antoine gets 2 rushes for 10 yards. Fletcher involved early. Tight ends. Tight ends got some targets today. And you can see how our approach to offense was a little different. We're going to spread the ball around, get guys more touches. Fletcher had 12 yards. Antoine, another 3. Heavy Antoine on our first offensive series. Whoever, 12-yard reception. Antoine gets another 3 yards. CJ gets 3 yards. Jay Sean gets a first down running, but on CJ's first carry, and we'll get to more of that in a second, it looks like he hurt his ankle, and he's probably going to be out for a while. We'll talk about that in a minute. We had Fletcher again, 3 targets for tight ends on that series. Jay Sean gets a carry. Then Athan misses DT, and then he gets a sack against it. I'm like, oh, man. It's one thing if Miami of Ohio gets sacks against us, but when it's Norfolk, that's a whole nother thing. 4th and 6, turnover on downs. Not a great start by the offense at this point. I'm thinking to myself, stop effing around, man. Let's go. Let's get aggressive. Let's put them away early. So we're on defense, and we get the first sack of the game. A couple penalties. Norfolk's making mistakes. Block punt by Jet Elad, recovered by Kyle Sanders. We talked about Norfolk and their schizophrenic special teams, and it seemed to rub off on us yesterday. Norfolk gets the ball back. Shooting again, gets another 5 yards rushing. 11-yard completion. Rutgers in the first quarter, we had 47 yards on offense in the first quarter. We're up 13-0. But no offensive TDs. Evans gets, 16 yards. He wound up having 8 for 52, 5.6 per carry for the game. And we're getting gashed in the run game. So early on, when you look at the final stats, you're like, that's not bad. But early on, they were having success and had success on the ground throughout the game with the running backs and with the quarterback early. Isaiah Carter comes in. He gets a 5-yard rush. Now they're rotating quarterbacks trying to create. That's kind of old school kind of thing they used to do back in the 90s. Nonetheless, the drive ends for Norfolk. Kick the field goal, 34 yards. It's 13-3. Okay, let's stop messing around. Let's get some offense going. Get the ball up to 38. Jay Sean gets some carries. Antoine gets 17-yard pass. Nice. Okay, Antoine, a couple rushes. Weber gets another catch. First couple drives. Antoine gets another 4 yards. We miss Fletcher. So he's getting more targets. Tight ends getting some work. I'm talking about tight ends and running backs getting more targets because you can move the sticks, and then when those guys make plays, when the defense doesn't expect it, it can be a backbreaker for the defense. But I'm thinking, all right, stop being cute. This is like last week against Miami when we come out in the third quarter and, we're kind of taking a conservative, short passing game and running game approach. Let's just get the ball downfield. No, Jay Sean loses some yards, gets 8 yards. We get a first down. He would get a 18-yard pass to KJ to the 3-yard line, and then Antoine scores a touchdown at 3 yards out. Ensuing possession. Norfolk gets the ball back. Carter's in there, 8-yard pass, and then Jet Elad gets the gift of all gifts. There was nobody around them. It was like he was the hot read as a wide receiver on that play, right to him. Gets the pick. We get the ball back. KJ 32 yards. Antoine for 12. Antoine loses a couple of yards. He's kind of held in check. He's averaging about 3 yards per carry early. Athan gets a 2-yard rush. Incomplete pass, and then we hit KJ for another 31 yards, field goal, 23-3. Okay, we're up 20 points. I'm not happy about our lack of ability to have killer instinct and our fluidity. Norfolk gets the ball back. They run a couple plays. We get the sack on Carter. Jones throws an 11-yard pass. They're rotating quarterbacks again. Now it's 4th and 6. It's a good punt for Norfolk. Rutgers gets the ball at the 17. Antoine for 5. KJ for 18 yards. He's not only in targets, but he's getting big yards. Now we're starting to get warmed up. Let's go. Uninspiring first half to date. Touchdown to DT. Called back illegal shift. I'm like, oh, man, come on. Let's go. We wound up that there were offsetting penalties, so we get the play over again, and Antoine gets 7 yards. 3rd and 3. Jay Sean gets the first down. Ben Black. He gets 4 yards. We need bigger chunks now. We keep getting these 3-4 yards. Enough of small ball. 4th down. 10 yards. DT to the 33. Athan gets a 7-yard rush. Bajai Patel has to settle for a 44-yard field goal. It's 26-3. All right, so I'm thinking not what we wanted. We wanted that 35, nothing, 42-0 first half lead to get the young guys in there. Better come out aggressive in the second half. We outgained Norfolk 228 to 122. We outgained them in first downs. But they had time. They won time of possession by about 3.5 more minutes. But we only averaged 3.8 yards per carry on the ground, which kind of stalled some drives. Whereas Norfolk was averaging 5 yards per carry on the ground, and that's not a good sign when Norfolk is averaging 5 yards per carry. What do you think Jonah Coleman is going to do to us? Second half starts. Jay Sean. I'm sure Coach didn't love this. He caught the kickoff at the 4, returns it to the 20. Antoine, another 2 yards. Then we get 15 yards to Ben Black. Incomplete pass. Jay Sean for 6. Jay Sean for 5. It's first down at the 48. Antoine gets a 15-yard run. Finally, something beyond the 2 to 3 to 4 yards. Then we hit Ben Black on a 37-yard touchdown. Happy for Ben Black. He's getting targets, catching the ball, no drops. Love that we didn't go into, as Mike from the Night Report likes to say, turtle mode. PAT blocked again. Unbelievable. Kick the ball off to Norfolk. Carter completes, the mobile quarterback, completes a 32-yard pass. Evans gets stuffed, running back, but there's a face mask penalty. Awesome. More mistakes. King gets a 25-yard rushing touchdown. Defense awful against the run. All right. We get the ball back. Let's see what we got. Let's not do turtle mode. Let's not let Norfolk control the ball and run us down. Jay gets a 6-yard pass, a 5-yard run, and then a 51-yard pass to DT. Love it. Like staying aggressive. Don't get conservative. Kick the ball off. Evans, running back, 15-yard run. We're getting gashed. At that point, they're averaging 6.2 yards per carry. 11-yard pass, first down. Come on, man, let's go. Defense is uninspiring. They wind up having to punt on the series. We get the ball back at the 14. KJ Duff, another big play, 27 yards. Interference penalty declined. Jay Sean gets 2 yards. KJ gets another 9 yards. Jay Sean gets 12 yards. KJ another 16 yards. Now we're really heating up. We're still in the third quarter. KJ's got 6 catches. 119 yards. That's 20 yards a catch. Jay Sean gets another 5 yards and then an 11-yard touchdown. At this point, players are rotating in and out. Backups are getting in there. Fourth quarter starts. Ed Guerrero gets in the game, and he had a pretty good camp. He was kind of impressive. He was one of the guys that I thought did pretty well. Gets 2 yards. Pass interference, though, at the Norfolk 35. Justin Cesare, just a weird, illegal forward handoff at 2nd and 15. AJ Sarace, who's in the game, gets sacked. Then there's a false start. It's 3rd and 14. Rough start. But Logan Blake gets a 6-yard reception, and then a big play, Vernon Allen for 18 yards. Glad to see him in there, as well as Michael Thomas, who had an outstanding touchdown. Ed Guerrero gets 6 yards, another 3 yards, first down, and then first touchdown for AJ and Dino Kalakamanis. 9-yard touchdown. Lots of people happy about that. So Norfolk gets the ball back, and Abdul Rahman face mask. 15-yard penalty, kind of sloppy. We didn't have a lot of penalties, no turnovers, but situationally, well, we made some mistakes. But Norfolk fumbles. All right, let's finish this. Let's put our foot on the accelerator and just run it down their throat. All right, let's hit 60. Mitchell comes in the game. Glad to see that. Out of Somerville, New Jersey. Gets 3 yards, gets 7 yards. AJ has an incomplete pass. He's sacked on 3rd and 10. Back-to-back games with 3 sacks against lower competition. It's not going to be good, especially with the O-line situation going forward. We'll get to that. It's 4th and 10. AJ Sarace to Michael Thomas for a 25-yard touchdown. And it's now 60-10. Norfolk gets the ball back. It's 3 and out. It's now the end of the fourth quarter. And the end result was turned out, at least on paper, we did what we set out to do, what I wanted to see. So we finished strong. I was happy to see that. No kind of cliffhangers at the end. We scored 60 points. We held Norfolk to 220 yards and 10 points. Got reps to Ben Black. Got reps to Weber, Fletcher, Logan Blake, Vernon Allen III, Michael Thomas III. Great TD pass. Dino gets a TD. Ed Guerrero, Terrell Mitchell. Sean Ashenfeld to Sinai de Graffenright out of AC got some touches. So along those lines, we did what we needed to do. I don't think DJ McClary or Kamar Archie got in the game. At least there was nothing on their stat lines. We made some plays on D and special teams, and it was interesting that Coach said he sees special teams as an extension of defense, so he considers that. Jet Elad had that easiest pick ever, as we talked about, and a blocked punt. Sanders had a touchdown. So I guess that can't be separate from their coverage and missed tackles. And you need guys to make plays to get them more in the swing of things, more comfortable and more productive. Norfolk wasn't statistically great, except in the running game. We'll need to tighten up against Iowa. And we'll get into an Iowa preview, but they are number 30 in rushing offense, so they still do what they do. Our contain was still not that great, with Kuhn getting some good yardage on the ground. Still soft up the middle, especially on those big runs. And QB scrambles. O'Neal had 2.5 tackles for loss. I'm still, the production's still not there, especially with those guys up front. And I don't know what the answer is. I know there's a lot of Rob Smith hate out there. I don't know if it's communication, scheme, just not executing, not being in the right spot. I don't know. But nonetheless, we did get defense at the end of the game. Overall, did their job keeping Norfolk to 10 points. I was looking, in my last video, I said, 300, Spartan 300. Let's keep them under that. And we did that at 220. You need to show that you can be productive against lesser opponents and keep them from being productive at lesser opponents, because that somehow will impact what you do in the future. If they got 400 yards against us, you know that Washington and Oregon and Illinois are going to be a problem. Injuries. CJ gets hurt on his first carry, and it's likely a somewhat serious ankle issue. Tyler Needham goes down, I'm saying like in the third quarter again. So after initial hope for a deep O-line rotation, we now have to depend on an LIU guy in Moshe Jiwa going into a physical game against Iowa. The coach said after the game he has a high level of concern for injured players, and for Coach Shiano, that's akin to ringing the alarm bells. So it's probably not good. Although it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on there, with Ian Strong. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? It just According to the coach, they felt that he was going to be able to play yesterday, and somehow, for whatever reason, just wasn't ready. It sounds like he'll probably be ready for Iowa, but we'll see. I feel, however, that a running back room it should be fine, but CJ gives us an element that the other guys don't with his burst and his pass catching ability. Needham likely out indefinitely, but Ian is the wild card. We'll need all our weapons against the stout Iowa defense that's tied for 14th. They're number 6 against the run, 13th in passing yards, 34th in passing efficiency, 16th in third down conversion percentage. They still do a lot of Iowa things, both on offense and defense. But ironically, they're only 55th in red zone defense, which is kind of a surprise. We've had trouble against them in the red zone in the past. And 85th in turnover margin, which is kind of another surprise because they like to play close to the vest, not turn it over, run the ball, play defense. So there's opportunities there for us if we can avoid turnovers and get a couple and keep them out of the end zone in the red zone. So, so we're going to have to be able to have our weapons. Defensively, we went through those issues. We know what they are. Special teams. 2 block punts, 2 missed PATs, and a strangely weird timing on an onside kick, but I kind of get it. I know the guys at the night report were saying that they might have thought that it could have been something to put out there just to show people, to kind of be ready for it. But I think coach was just trying to play scoreboard catch up, catch them by surprise, get to that 35-42 nothing lead that we feel we should be at. Then we can start getting our guys in and then move on. Build up some momentum and move on. But nonetheless, considering all that, how far have we come as fans when we're unhappy with our 7th game in a row, scoring 30-plus points, scored 60 points, 563 yards, gave up 220, blocking 2 punts, 0 turnovers for the 3rd game in a row? Love that. Scored on 7 of our first possessions, 7 out of 8, or 6 out of 7. I think it was 7 out of 8. 33 first downs. Athan throws 309 yards, 18 to 26, no interceptions. And get this, he's PFF's top-rated quarterback so far this season. Who had that on their bingo card? How far we've come when we can nitpick. And Athan did miss a couple throws yesterday. But you can't be perfect. If he was, he'd be around his adjusted adjusted passing rate would be around 80%. Nonetheless, it's Iowa season, and we'll do a little preview on that. It's going to be a tough one. We open as 1.5 point dogs. Briefly go through. I don't know if I want to go through a full recap of the Big Ten, but just a brief overview. Michigan does what they do. They beat Central Michigan 63-3. Bryce Underwood had a good game. Nebraska beats Houston Christian, whoever that is, 59-7. Northwestern. Now, this game was interesting. This game was tied into the second quarter. It was like 7-0 Oregon. But of course, Oregon does what Oregon does, and they pull away. They win 34-14. But yeah, it's a little closer than you might have thought. Oregon didn't run away with it. Maryland, game that worries me, that one that people probably think it was a win. The quarterback, Malik Washington, four-star freshman, worries me. He had another good game yesterday. And Maryland beats Towson 44-17, who beat Norfolk State. Wisconsin, Alabama, close early, 7-0 in the second quarter. Alabama pulls away 38-14. Penn State, now their first game of the year, they came out and thought they were going to be more of a passing set than running, playing defense, and playing boring offense. They're getting off to slow starts in their games, and their sluggishness has Penn State fans a little antsy. 7-0 against Villanova in the second quarter is kind of surprising. So I guess, if we had a slow start against, Miami or Norfolk, it's kind of forgivable. But they pull away and they beat Villanova 52-6. This game had some interest for me, and that's USC and Purdue. Purdue not as bad as they were last year. Now USC wound up winning 33-17, and Purdue USC's 3-0. Purdue's 2-1. But Purdue is playing much better. Michigan State, Youngstown State, pesky. They hung around for a long time. Michigan State pulls away 41-24. Eden Childs, who we kind of handled last time. Michigan State fans really hot on him. He had a decent game, 270 yards and a touchdown. Ohio State and Ohio really close in the first half. I want to say it was like 10-3, like late in the second quarter. Winds up being 13-3 at half. 23-9 in the third quarter. And you're like, wow, okay, so maybe this Ohio tight game and Ohio's win over West Virginia, in retrospect, is a better win than we give it credit for. But Ohio State pulls away. They win 37-9. Parker Navarro, you want to see the difference between the programs. Parker Navarro carved us up. I think he had a total of 94 yards in that game. Illinois beats Western Michigan 38-0. They roll along. They're now number 9. Iowa pulls away from UMass, and Joe Harrisimiak having a tough time at UMass. 47-7. Gronowski actually had a normal college passing game where he had 179 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Hopefully he got better against them, and he won't be ready for us. So he won't be getting better against us. Cal, big surprise, 3-0, beats Minnesota 27-14. That's kind of a shock, quite frankly. And then Indiana doing what they do. They beat Indiana State, the Larry Bird Indiana State, 73-0. Mendoza had his first big game, 270 yards with 5 touchdowns. And then the big one tonight, or Friday night, New Mexico smokes UCLA, 35-10. Today, Sunday, Deshaun Foster gets fired after 3 games. They were 5-15. One of those wins was against us at home last year, which still pisses me off. Nonetheless, they will be looking for a new coach. And Florida is another team that might be looking for a new head coach soon. Boy, Arch Manning, he was... Now, it's one thing to come out a little rusty in your first game against Ohio State, but who was it? No, not North Texas, Texas, El Paso, whoever it might have been. He was just not good. I'm maybe a little bit of concern there right now, but That's some news and notes. Texas A&M beating Notre Dame. By the way, can we get a win against Iowa? I know they're not a ranked team, but Vanderbilt beats ranked Alabama last year. They beat South Carolina this year. Georgia Tech gets a big win against ranked Clemson, who probably shouldn't be, but they are ranked. Can we just go out and get a ranked win like that? Let's do this. We'll talk to you soon. We'll have an Iowa and Big Ten preview. Enjoy the finish of your weekend, and we'll see you during the week.